Josh, congratulations on your appointment as technical director. I know you spend a lot of your time trying to get deals over the line, but how does it feel to get this one signed and sealed?
Yeah, I'm obviously very happy about it, and to be honest, I'm more excited about what this can help the club do.
You arrived here 3 years ago as Head of Recruitment. How do you reflect back on your own journey at the club as well as all the things you've been able to achieve in that time?
Well, it's been a steep learning curve, especially as you know, when we first came, there wasn't too much in place. In terms of the processes we put in place, I do genuinely think they're above League Two level, and maybe even I think there will be clubs in the league above that would look at our process quite jealously in terms of the people we've put in place and the processes. I think if looking at that side of things, I think we can be very happy with the work we've done. But then also ultimately it's judged by the signings you've made. I think we've got a very high success rate with signings certainly compared to a lot of League Two clubs. And we've continued to outperform the budget.
As it was your first appointment in that sort of role, what were the sort of challenges that you faced in implementing all your methods and trying to get people on side with it?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot to learn about how to influence people. I've worked obviously with managers in the past who have completely different ways of wanting to see the work we've done. I'm pretty confident now that the way we put information across to Belly and the coaches is in a way that they're completely comfortable with and they're happy with how the information's given to them, and that goes a long way to getting the buy-in on the players. Yeah.
You did say at the time when you arrived here that you're obviously confident in the methods that you had, and you'd been involved in data analysis and talent identification in the past, but what you had to do was get as someone from a non-playing background, you had to get the trust of the management staff and the coaching staff. How do you feel that you've managed that?
Yeah, I think ultimately the way to get trust is to make good signings. Initially, probably there were a couple of signings that hadn't gone through, let's say, the purest form of the process. But then even in that instance, there's an opportunity to learn, because the coaches might see that the players we've recommended have gone on and done well elsewhere. And then since then, I think I can't praise Belly enough in terms of the amount of trust and faith he's put in the recruitment process, and it's been that's made the job really fulfilling, and I think why I'm excited for what we could do next.
And the reason that you say it's fulfilling is because you have a direct impact on what the matchday squad looks like and ultimately what Saturday afternoon might look like. Have you enjoyed that responsibility, and also it comes with a bit of pressure as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think ultimately that's what I wanted, that pressure. It's when you're maybe working in a bigger club, you might sometimes do all this homework on a player and then nothing happens with it, and that obviously is quite unfulfilling. But when you're in the away end at Stockport and Josh Osterfield and Ed Turns, who've just signed in January, score, it's an unbelievable feeling. That's probably the closest I will ever get to that, the feeling of scoring a goal on a Saturday.
Football transfers can come out of the blue, but promotions and appointments like this one probably don't. Is becoming technical director or that type of role something that you've wanted and perhaps targeted for your own career?
Yeah, so I've just finished doing a Masters in Sports Directorship. It's always something that I've seen as aspirational for myself. As I say, I've loved working here, and I've always felt that I would want to stay as long as I felt that the club's moving forward and I'm able to keep developing myself with it, whether that be within the role or just keep learning things, basically.
So what have the discussions centred around that you've had leading up to this announcement about the role and what's expected from you?
Yeah, so as I said, I think the processes in the recruitment department are very, very good. They're very well drilled, if you like, and I just think that this will hopefully allow me to sort of have a little look in other areas and see where improvements can be made in terms of processes. I'm not going to go and tear everything up because it doesn't need it, but there will definitely be hopefully changes that I can identify, and as has been the case with recruitment, it will be an evolutionary process where you're bringing in new bits and seeing hopefully how you can improve things.
Yeah, so I understand that the role gives you sort of a broader authority and new responsibilities, but I think it's right to say that what you want to see is collaboration and departments to run efficiently, and you're there to help that process go smoothly.
Yeah, definitely. I think there obviously can be better links between different departments of the football club. Obviously, recruitment's still going to be the biggest one for me, because that's, I guess, my bread and butter. But I would like to sit down with Kenny and look at how players we're bringing in, how they can be developed in certain ways, and if I can help Kenny in the process of those player developments, that would be very hopefully beneficial for the club, but also rewarding.
Obviously, your expertise is data analysis. How can that apply to different departments? Maybe can it help with the medical side and things like that, sports science too, and as well as the academy? Yeah,
definitely. I think an obvious example is probably player development, because for example with Mats and Tabs, I've already spoken to Kenny about how we can sort of set them data targets that they can hit, and then we can monitor them over a period, and then when the next crop come through, they can we can compare them in that sense. Similarly, I think data can have a massive impact on pre and post match analysis, obviously. I think the medical side is something, medical and sports science, that's probably something I'm quite keen to learn a little bit more about. I've got to be honest, it's not my area of expertise, but speaking to George and James, it's all, they've always been very open with me about, if I ask a question on say, well, previously it would have been a signing, they've always explained it to me really well, and I guess sort of the opportunity to learn about stuff like that is something that is why I find this opportunity exciting.
People talk in football, of course, and your reputation's growing from the job you've done over the last 3 years. That can bring opportunities elsewhere. So what is it about True Alexandra that's made you want to commit to this new challenge?
Yeah, I guess there have been a couple of clubs that have contacted me, but as I said, as long as I feel that the club's making positive steps and I'm still able to learn and develop myself, I don't see why I'd want to leave.
And I suppose, the longer you stay at a club, the more of an affinity that you have for it, and you actually care about the people you work with and the results on the pitch.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, the people here is what makes the club as great as it is. Obviously, people that have been here for years and years, and you don't stay that long in an institution that that people don't enjoy being at.
Now, while we've got you, obviously, when they join a club, footballers often say, "I'm keen to get started," but your work has started long ago, and you've already made one signing in Josh March. Tell us why you felt he was going to be a good addition.
Yeah, so I think people would have probably been a bit surprised with how early that was, because that's quite unusual for us, but it was just a case of he was someone that we've watched, our scouts have liked, given very positive reports on over the season, and he was just very keen to join once we met him. I think he'll bring a lot of energy, runs in behind, pressing, things that I think the fans will like, and obviously his second half of the season goal return was very, very good as well, so hopefully he can continue that here.
I know you won't give too much away, but what are the other areas that you're looking at now and profiles of player?
Yeah, so I think there's obviously areas of the squad that probably need addressing. I think both we could probably do with some more fullbacks, goalkeeper, and then obviously some forward players as well. So quite a bit still to do.
And in your new role, as you're saying, you are very focused on developing yourself, and that's a key part. You need support as well, don't you? Do you feel that you've got that? You've got that sort of mentorship as well in terms of what you're doing and what you're looking to achieve?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think Carl Hancock's obviously been massive in bringing me to the club and then helping me with, I can call him any time of day with what do you think of this situation, what do you think of that situation. So yeah, I think he's been very helpful, and his sort of business experience sometimes doesn't translate that well into football, but when it gives a good perspective that can make me sort of reevaluate things. And yeah, he's been very key in getting me to this point.
So much of your work revolves in measuring footballs in a kaleidoscope of ways. As technical director, what are your targets for the future now, and how will you measure them?
Yeah, I guess you could break it down into internal and external targets, because internally it's just about keeping improving the recruitment process, trying to implement processes in other departments, and as you say, make sure they link up well. But then externally, obviously, you want the club to finish as high as possible, and obviously promotion's a big aim for this football club.